What's up guys, Max Tech Toy Box here, and so I used the Wyze Smart Sprinkler Irrigation System for 1 month. This is what I found out. So setup is pretty easy. It connects via the Wyze application, and so it connects directly via Wi-Fi. No issues there at all. However, I will state that the actual device handle has a very dim screen, which makes it very difficult to set up in direct sunlight. With that being said, I know that this was designed to go inside your house, and as you guys can see from when I installed this, I did go ahead and get a third-party weatherproof casing to install this in. At the time of this review, Wyze is supposed to be working on their own waterproof casing, but like I said, it's not out currently. Now, with that being said, in hindsight, I'm pretty sure that they would have made this device with a brighter screen, and they should have made it with a weatherproof casing to begin with. In every house that I've owned, I've always had my irrigation system outside, not on the inside of my house. So again, it wasn't a huge issue, but because the screen is a little dim in direct sunlight, it's difficult to see the screen. And to be honest, I rarely ever actually use the physical screen or the physical device ever. I did everything through the Wyze application, apart from setting it up from the very beginning. From there, you can go ahead and list all of your zones. You can take pictures if you like, or you can use some of their pre-assigned thumbnails. From there, you can list the soil type, the crop type, what type of sprinkler system you have in that area, how much sun exposure, and also how steep your lawn is. And of course, you also input your zip code and your address, and all of this information is aggregated to give the best watering experience for your lawn. For example, if you have one part of your lawn or one zone that is a bit steeper than others, well, we know that that means that there's going to be increased runoff. So maybe instead of a longer duration watering, Wyze is more apt to suggest a shorter duration. And they may also suggest a cycle or soak function there as well, which I'll touch on in a little bit. After you set up each zone, you can now work on your schedule. You do have the ability to set up a manual schedule or a smart schedule. Now, what would the fun be in purchasing a smart irrigation system if you're going to set up a manual schedule? So of course, I did set up a smart schedule. I also did create a manual schedule just so I could see what both offer. Now, I will say that setup for both is the exact same, which is a little confusing because you have the option to limit the watering days, limit watering to, you can set the time and things of that nature. However, in the smart schedule, when you're setting up those things, if you go to change the limit watering to, right, like the time of day or something like that, and then you also go to limit the watering days, well, the second that you input any information, first of all, on that smart schedule, it gets completely wiped out. Also, I touched a little bit on the cycle soak earlier, just so that you know, what the cycle soak feature does is it allows your lawn to get a bit of a reprieve so that the water can soak into the ground, right? And then after a while, it will then cycle back to that zone so that it can get another watering. Now, I talked about how if your lawn is a bit steeper than others, why that is important because of runoff. It's the exact same sort of thing here, okay? Again, let's say, for example, you wanted to get 30 minutes of watering on your front left lawn or something like that. Well, after Wyze aggregates this data, it'll say instead of just putting 30 minutes of watering directly onto that lawn because of the slope that you have, or et cetera, how about we break it down into 3 waterings of 10 minutes, okay? Or 5 waterings of 6 minutes. And in between those waterings, there will be a soak cycle, which allows, again, that water to just soak into the ground. So nothing will be running for, let's say, 5 or 6 minutes, and then it will go back to soak, or it'll go back to cycle at that zone. It took me a while to find out this information, okay? It's probably right on the front page of Wyze's website now, but at the time when I was doing this and working with it, I couldn't find any information. So you guys can thank me for that later if you still can't find that information out. Also, you do have the ability to link up to, I believe, 2 sensors to the device, such as a rain sensor or a moisture sensor. A list of compatible devices can be found on Wyze's website. Now, the whole idea of this smart sprinkler system is sort of set it and forget it. So after a month of setting and forgetting it, what did I find out?
Well, one thing that I found is that the moisture reading that Wyze lists
is not accurate. And of course, they're getting this information based off of your zip code and address, so it's an estimate. So here I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what it's reading as what my moisture is based off of the Wyze app. And then here, when I place this moisture sensor down, you guys can see my yard is bone dry. Okay, which is what I figured. A lot of the times basically throughout this month, and Wyze was saying that my moisture level was higher, and I'm looking at my yard and it looks a little dry. And you can also tell too when you're walking in your yard how that grass, the noise that it sort of makes. Press a little bit further in to see, and so bone dry. So I've done this at different parts of my yard throughout to see, and it consistently has come back a lot lower in moisture than what the Wyze application is saying. So I think I am going to invest in a third-party sensor or wireless sensor to connect it directly onto the application, so that I get a better indication of how much moisture my yard actually has. And of course, this is important for water. All in all, the smart sprinkler irrigation system, I think it works, and it does help a lot in terms of setting and forgetting things. But the problem is that if it's not getting the right information, then obviously that changes how it's going to water your yard. So what I'm going to do, like I said, is I am going to get a third-party sensor and connect it. Okay. I am also going to adjust the sensor, or rather the moisture level currently listed on the application, so that it gets more correct information until I get that sensor. Okay, and then I'm going to do another review in a month so we can see if there's any changes here. Okay, it definitely helps to just set something and forget it and never have to work or worry about it at all. But you obviously want to make sure, especially if you're somebody who likes your yard to look a certain way, you want to make sure that you are indeed getting the appropriate amount of moisture into the grass. So all in all, I do think that it works as described, but I just think that if it doesn't have the right information, well, that's going to change how it decides to water your grass. So let me go ahead and just set things up for an additional month and give you guys another review in maybe a month or two to see how it fares. But I don't really think you can go wrong with the Wyze Smart Sprinkler System, especially for the price. I don't think you can really go wrong. It's really pretty inexpensive in comparison to any other smart sprinkler system. But again, what's most important to you is what this is going to come down to. If you're someone who really doesn't care about your yard getting watered and you just want to set it and forget it, and you're not too worried about how your grass looks, you definitely can't go wrong with this. Now, if you're somebody who wants your yard to look a certain way, then I think you might want to invest into a third-party sensor. But before I suggest that, let me just use this for a little bit more time and I'll give you guys my thoughts. So this is Max Tech Toy Box signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.